It's great to have you join this live stream. And this is actually teaching in series. We've been on this course for the past 2 weeks now. I think, yeah, a week. I mean, a week thereabout. And we have been taking the course History and Philosophy of Science. And in our last class, we were able to discuss, a lot of things, a lot of events in science. We were able to discuss about different achievers, the first person to be in space, the first lady to be in space, the youngest person to be in space, a lot of things we're able to. And today, it's going to be the same thing we're going to be talking about, and we're going to be talking about the loss of science. In our previous class, we were able to establish that science came out from Africa. We're able to discuss a thing or two about how science originated from Africa, Egypt, and Babylon, which is referred to as the recent Iraq. So we discussed a lot of things, how chemistry, physics, and everything evolved from Africa, and we're able to establish that although it was tentative, we were able to say that science evolved from Africa. So today it's just going to be a continuation of where we stopped in our last class, and we're talking about the lost science of Africa and overview of that. So I'll just give YouTube time to do a thing by notifying members of the classroom, and we can proceed immediately. Okay, so we have that of that. Then we may proceed tonight's class. I'm just trying to quickly fix my material. We can, Miss Justina, it's great to have you join the stream tonight. Awesome. So we are taking Unit 4. We are taking Unit 4 of Unit 4 of Module 2 on the material. Mr. Jolas, it's great to have you join us as well. So, in our previous class, we were able to discuss, we're discussing about how science originated from Africa, and a lot of achievers, that made history, when it comes to science. So tonight, just from where we stopped the last time, it's still going to be a continuation of science in Africa. Argument is all about science originated from Africa. So Unit 4 tonight, and the topic is going to be the lost science of Africa, an overview on that. Now, in this unit, we'll be talking about the incontrovertible evidence that, unarguably, the unarguably evidence that Africans outside Egypt also originated the science, of metallurgy and astronomy. Our focus tonight is going to be how Africans, outside Egypt, did a lot of things about what we call metallurgy and astronomy. We'll talk about metallurgy now. Metallurgy has to do with the study of science, the study of science that deals with metals and its properties and its purification. And we have astronomy as the study of celestial being, the universe as a whole. So it can be concluded that we're talking about how possible it is to conclude that civilization really started from Africa. So we have so the main points on this would be, the first thing is that in 1978, Peter Schoolmeet and Donald Avery, both of Brown University in USA, announced that between 1005 to 2000 years ago, Africans who lived on the western shores of Lake Victoria in Tanzania had produced carbon steel. Speaking of carbon steel now, These two scholars said that 1,005 to 2,000 years ago, that Africans who lived in the western shores of Lake Victoria in Tanzania had produced what we call carbon steel. Now, the next point, the Aya people are the present occupants of the western shore of Lake Victoria. The Haya people, Aya is spelled Haya. The Haya people are the present occupants of the western shores of Lake Victoria. Okay, I believe we have that already, so we can just proceed. So so Peter Skumit, this is the next point, which makes it the third one. Peter Skumit evacuated iron crystals from the site where the higher people said that one of their ancient kings had climbed a pillar of iron to ascend to heavens, to the heavens. This issue on Africans being very important um, predecessors, having very important predecessors in the history of science. Peter Skumit went into research and he was able to discover that the people of Aya, according to them, said that their leader, one of their leader, in their town then, that there is this about almost like thousands of feet tall iron tower that they built, and one of their leader ascended to the heavens through this, and this happened in the land of Aya. Now they told this to Peter Skumit, that evacuated iron crystals. When we say crystals, something that you can see, like you can, for example, when it's something is crystal clear, you can see the thing very well. Like it's clear. You can see behind from the front. Something crystal. So we have things like iron crystals, and Peter Skumid evacuated iron crystals from the site where Aya people said that one of their ancient king had climbed a pillar of iron to ascend to heavens. So we have Peter Skumid now persuaded some Aya blacksmiths to carry out a smelting experiment. Smelting has to do with the process whereby iron, there's this natural minerals that looks like stone that you can extract iron from. When you to extract iron from this stone, it has to be melted, and the process is called smelting. So now he persuaded Peter Skumid now. Okay, Perky is going to have you join us. So Peter Skumid now, he persuaded Aya blacksmith to carry out smelting experiments. Now the results show that temperatures in the blast zone of furnace exceeded 18,000 Celsius. It's 18,000 degrees Celsius. Thus was okay. Mr. I think Mr. Agu is with us tonight. It's great to have you all join us tonight. So, and that was 200 to 400 degree Celsius, higher than temperatures observed during the smelting experience, based on European archaeological evidence. The Aya people achieved this by preheating the air drafts through blowpipes. Now, let me explain this now. Peter Skumid persuaded the Aya blacksmith to carry out a smelting experiment. Peter Skumid, from where he was coming from, definitely must have observed some certain kind of smelting experiment. Please, this course material story from when to when? Okay, I'm not really sure I understand. Please, this course material story is from when to when? I'm not sure I understand that question. Mr. Jolas, please, can you put questions, rephrase the questions? Said she can't hear anything. Are we all having this? Are we all having similar issues? Can you all hear me? Okay. What about now? Can you all hear me now? Okay. Mr. Agu said yes. Okay. Mr. Jolas, Mr. Perky, can you hear me now? Awesome, awesome. Mr. Julius, are you there? Can you hear me now? Ms. Justina, are you also there? Can you all hear me now? So, as I was saying, in our previous class, we're discussing that the Europeans, the Westerners, they've kind of that we've kind of been they've put us in this kind of illusion. You understand? Whereby it is said that science does not really have much to do with Africans, but according to our material, it never tells the story of 19. Okay, okay, Mr. Jolas. No, these are the years are like in our previous class, the years are like even before 20th century are like thousands of years behind now before Christ. We have the Anon Domini, which is about millions of years now. Before we now have BC, which is before Christ. Then we now have all these 19th, 17th, 18th century. So the years are actually thousands of years behind. We are talking about the origin of science. Actually, the course material is not old, it's the content. We are talking about, I think in our very first, the course title itself is History and Philosophy of Science. So you don't expect the history and philosophy of science should be evolving around, things written in 20th century or even the 19th century. We have to go back into time. So this is what we are talking about. So we have to go back into time to know what it was like during the time before Christ and during the Unknown Dominion, whereby science has been in existence. So we have to go deep to know what exactly was happening then. So now, and we've been able to, as according to what we have been studying, we've been able to discover that a lot of discoveries were made in Africa, in Egypt, precisely, and Babylon. Okay, also, so we have that. So let me just get back to where we had, because we actually have a long way to go tonight, and I want us to conclude the material tonight. So now the people of Haya introduced a process in their smelting that was very original and in advance of their time. They made the steel through the formation of iron crystal rather than by sintering of solid particles as formed in European smelting. Now, this is a comparison between European smelting and what the people of Aya did, or what the people of Aya do. The people of Aya is a place in Africa here, and their smelting process is way better and advanced and well effective than what European smelting is like. Let's not forget, we said smelting is the process of getting extracting iron particles from natural resources to form metals. You understand? So now the smelting process done in European is quite different from what this great philosopher, which is what's his name? His name is okay, I think I just have to get his name very quickly. Yeah, Peter Schmidt. So Peter Schmidt now, he persuaded the people of Aya. He persuaded them that they should carry out an experiment. He wants to observe what their smelting process is like, and he discovered that they introduced a process in their smelting that was very original and in advance compared to what it is in their time. They made the steel through the formation of iron crystals rather than by sintering of solid particles as found in European smelting. So this is way better than what the European does. Now, the Dogon people of Mali incorporated, this is another point, I'm talking about the Dogon people of Mali, incorporated the rising and setting of certain stars or group of stars in their various calendar. One of the stars of importance was the star called Sirius. It is the brightest star in the sky. Now, the people of Dogon, according to what we just read, people of Dogon said they incorporated the rising and the setting of certain stars, and one of the biggest stars which they incorporated was called Sirius. Sirius is spelled Sirius. So we have that as that. So we move to the next point, which is, but for the Dogon, the most sacred of their 700-year-old tradition do not revolve around Sirius, which is the biggest star, but its companion known as Sirius B. The star is not visible to the naked eye. Now, there's something more special, very special about the people of Dogon, which is not just the incorporation of the brightest star, which is Sirius, but the companion of their. But there's something that made their 700-year-old tradition very special, and that is the Sirius B, a star that is not visible to the naked eye. Now, that is the Sirius B. People of Dogon made their tradition of about 700 years very special. Now, the Dogon extensive knowledge of the heavenly bodies. Now, basically, the Dogons, they have a lot of knowledge. They have impressive knowledge about heavenly bodies, especially Sirius B, which is a star that cannot be seen by the naked eye, sends shock wave around the scientific world. Another point, we have two French anthropologists called Marcel Grahiel and Germain Detalien were the people that revealed this information on the Dogon people. These two French anthropologists revealed this information about the Dogon. I think that name, we have to take that name down. We have Marcel. Marcel is spelled Marcel, and we have Grahiel, which is spelled Graagure, and Marcel Grahiel. And there were two of them that reviewed this information about the people of Dogon, that they have impressive knowledge about the heavenly bodies. And the second anthropologist, who happens to be Germain, Germaine, Germain Detalien, Dieterlen, spelled Detalien. So we have that as that. Now, they studied the Dogon people from 1931 to 1956. These two anthropologists studied the Dogon people from 1931 to 1956. Their ambition was to fully understand the Dogon, especially their religion. Now, they had to pass through Dogon system of education before they could learn. Wow, that is impressive. Their education lasted for 16 years. See why sometimes the white people can be very crazy about their passion. You can imagine these two anthropologists had to learn. Is that not crazy? They have to learn the ways of these people before they can even learn anything about them. And they have to learn their education for them to be able to communicate first, learn their language, learn everything about them before they now even start studying or knowing these people. And that took them, just to learn their education alone, took them 16 years. Wow. Kudos to these two anthropologists. And they are Marcel Grahiel and Germain Detalien. So we have that as that. Now we have from the Dogon, they learned that although Sirius B, I'll leave that question to us to answer. What is Sirius B? What is Sirius B? We said something about Sirius. Sirius happens to be the brightest star, but we said something about Sirius B that made the religion of the Dogon, the religion of 700 years of the Dogon, very special. Made it very so there was a companion that made it very special, and it happens to be Sirius B. So I leave the question for us to answer in the comment section. What is Sirius B? So while I wait for us to answer the question, so Sirius B is these two anthropologists, they were able to understand, they learned that Sirius B is the most important star in the sky, and that it has an elliptical orbit around Sirius A, which takes 50 years to complete. Now, they drew a diagram showing the course and trajectory of this star up into the year 1990. Now, they say that this tiny star is composed of a metal brighter than iron, and that if all men on earth were a single lifting force, they would not move it. Wow, impressive. Modern scientists have confirmed all these observations. That's a lot to take in. They also made an observation which modern science has not been able to confirm. And this observation is that Sirius B has an orbit of 1 year around its own axis. So we have that like that. So we move straight into the unit 5 of module 2. Unit 5 happens to be the last module of unit 2, and we have that. So in this unit 5, excuse me. So in this unit 5, the piece of evidence we are going to be putting together, the piece of evidence support the fact that sciences of mathematics and medicine also originated in Africa and in areas outside Egypt also. Now, Africans claim that have been vindicated. Now, the main points in this unit are: 1. Among the earliest evidence of the use of numbers in Africa is a carved bone. Earliest use of number in Africa is what? A carved bone. It is discovered Dr. Um, by Dr. Jane de Henzelin at the fishing site of Isango on Lake Edward, Democratic Republic of Congo. Let's take that again. The earliest evidence of the use of numbers in Africa is a carved bone. That's earliest, use of number in Africa is the use of carved bone, and this was discovered by who? Doctor, that's Dr. Jane the Enzelin at the fishing site of Inzango, in Shango, I beg your pardon, in Shango, that's spelled Ishango, Shango on Lake Edward, Democratic Republic of Congo. The second point we have: Yorubas have a complex number system which is based on 20, and the usual feature of the system is that it relies on subtraction to a very high degree. Yoruba has a complex number system, and this number system is based on what? 20. So we have the next point. In the system, in numbers that go by 10, 5 is used as intermediate figure, that is 5 less than the next higher stage. In those that go by 20, 10 is used. Okay, basically it's just an explanation to that. Yoruba has a complex system, a complex number system. So we have that as that. We have the subtractive principle. Yoruba people are the one that uses subtractive principle, and it originated because of the practice of counting calories by 5. Yorubas count calories. And when they ask dash people count calories by 5, you should definitely know that it's the Yorubas, and we have that as that. So when a mathematical system is not recoverable, other ways of knowing that a people had mathematical knowledge include the following: it may be hidden architectural design, it may be an abstract pattern, it may be measuring system, it may also be in a complex working games, children playing or mathematical recreation such as IU game. So these are just the basic thing about the mathematics system in Yoruba land. We have let me take that again. How to know that um, the how to other ways to know that people of Yoruba have a mathematical knowledge. When we talk about architectural designs, is one way. When we talk about abstract pattern, is one way. When we talk about measurements, as one way. When we talk about the playing of games, which is called Ayu game. I believe it's more of draft. Like, can I compare it to drafts? It's actually a very local game, but you have about it's like what do I compare this to? Okay, it's like 20 25 when you split by not vertically but horizontally. When you split into two, a 25-liter keg, open it, then we have six holes on one side, six holes on the other side, and we have balls, about a total of 24 balls, and they are shared randomly in each holes, and you have to pick. I think before you get to win when you have a maximum of six in a hole. Then you pick it, you pack it as a winner, and you do go round until we know the highest who has the person who has the highest number of balls. So that's basically more of what the IO game looks like. Now move on. The state of traditional African medicine today does not reflect the best of what traditional doctors knew. This is because on the fact that a tremendous amount of knowledge has been lost due to various disruption in culture. So basically, culture has its way when it comes to medicine, and it's not all that culture has to pre- it's not all that culture has to give that we have in today's medicine. A lot of things has changed. Now there is an element of ritual and magic in some African, in some African, some African medicine system. This has been highlighted so often for sensational effects in films and books, and hidden series of scientific superstition to African medicine. So basically, there are some hidden superstitious scientific stuff to African medicine, in the use of magic, you know, use of magic and rituals, you know, according to culture. Then, so we have Africans have various plants medicine for many diseases and conditions such as abortion, retarded labor, and snake bites. So Africans as well, even before we have antidotes for venoms of snakes and scorpions. Back then, African medicine, African doctors, not even local doctors, because then they were doctors. They are in charge. So they use things like plants. They have various plant medicine. Anything that's wrong, we should just say just go get this plant to sort out the pain. Traditional doctors have much knowledge of anatomy and physiology, and understood some fundamental public health principles. For example, the use of the quarantine system for smallpox. So you can imagine, even as in ancient time, traditional doctors have this knowledge of anatomy, physiology, and the fundamental public health. Whereby, if somebody has smallpox, just like we have, these days when we had COVID-19, then it was mandatory. It becomes mandatory for anybody who has symptoms of COVID-19 to be quarantined. So it's also it's not just happening today. It's something that has been since ancient time. So we have that as that. They also developed a vaccination method against smallpox long before Edward Jenner's vaccination method became widely used, and also had been a very early knowledge of psychotherapy, anesthesia, antiseptics, excuse me, and surgical techniques. So basically, there's this person called Edward Jenner's, and this Edward Jenner's made vaccination uh, for what we call smallpox. But even before it became generally and widely accepted, the traditional doctors already have what they use, long before the vaccination of Edward Jenner came. So we have that as that. So that rounds off for module 2 of of course material. So we move to module 3, and we have under module 3 the first unit we have is science and technology and inventions. Now in this unit we'll be talking about interesting things, particularly we'll get exposed to the distinction between science and technology. How important is science, technology, and inventions? We'll get to know how all these things are important to our daily living, and how we get to learn some method of acquiring technological advancements. So interesting interestingly, to help how it helps our country to be more, we'll get to know how it helps our country to be more technologically developed, and all this we'll be discussing in points as we move on in this class. So we have the very first point. We have science and technology have affected our lives, our lifestyles. You can agree with me on that. So we have, this is more obvious when lifestyle of today and that of 100 years ago are compared, definitely. So they have been the most potent forces of social changes in history of man. So um, what are the social drives, of advancement? We have them as science, technology, and inventions. So we have that as that. So we have science is both the process and the product of investigation and research, while technology consists of what can be done with products or investigation and how they can be used. So basically, science is what does the, the, the dirty work, and technology is what uses the result of science. But let me take that definition again. Science is, according to what we have here, we have science is both the process and product of investigation, observation, and research, while technology consists of what can be done with the product science has to offer, the product science has to offer, and how they can be used. So we have curiosity motivates scientists to carry out investigation. Let's not forget, if you remember very well, when we're talking about observation, that as a scientist you have to have an open-minded and inquisitive mindset. Why is this like this? Why is this like this? You have to question almost everything you know. So we have curiosity motivates scientists to carry out investigations and research, while the desire to know how to translate ideas and plans into concrete products or processes is what motivates technology. Let's take this down. Curiosity is the backbone of investigation, while desire to know how to translate idea, meaning the implementation of idea into solving problem, is what motivates technology. Now let's take this down. Technology began when made man made and used tools in his desire to provide for basic needs. Now, technology began when man made and used tools. Man produced tools and he uses those tools to provide for basic needs like food, clothing, and shelter. Man earliest natural tools were his hands and feet. He later graduated to stones, to sticks, shaped to be as tools, and then developed tools for special types to be used for hunting, fishing, and etc. Okay, I think that's a question. It said Cyrus B. Okay, very faint because of its tiny size. Okay. Also, I've almost forgotten. Before I answer, you tried actually, but that was not. You actually did not hit the nail on the head. Your Cyrus B is actually a very special star, and what makes it special, I have said it in the class, in this same class. So also, Mr. Justina, it's great to have you attempt at least. So I'm waiting for Mr. Jolas, if Perky is still with us, and Mr. Agu, if you are still with us. I am waiting for your response as well. We have one person who has responded, so you can just proceed. Thank you very much. And if nobody responds, I will give the answer before the end of the class tonight. So we have man's technical progress is believed to be governed by two elements, which are two elements governs man's technical progress, and those elements are discovery and invention. The discovery of fire is the most important discovery of the Stone Age man. There was a time that it was referred to as the Stone Age. Remember, we said something about when we were talking about the history of science. We said something about the Stone Age, and the medieval age. We said something about the Stone Age, the medieval age. So we said that, if you can remember, in our previous classes. So the greatest invention or the greatest discovery. Okay, yes, thank you very much, Ms. Justina. You have just answered the question. It's actually very impressive to know that people are following. It's actually very interesting to know that you are not just on this platform. You are actually spending. It's expensive to even attend this class. It's quite expensive to be on this live stream. It's quite expensive, and it will be very unfortunate if you are putting in your time, your data, your energy into resources like this, and you're not making the best. You're not making the best out of it. For me myself, it's actually not easy as well from my side, to put these things together, to study before the class. I'm actually still doing my research on my project, and it's actually not that easy for me, you know. So it's a very good sign to know that, okay, you are not just streaming the live, but you are also paying attention. Thank you very much for that, Miss Justina. The question has been answered, so let's just move on because we still have a lot for tonight. So, as I was saying, the greatest discovery in the Stone Age was the discovery of fire. So, with it, men learned how to cook. I can't just imagine, man, what it is like. What was it like before fire was discovered? What was it that men were eating? Were they eating grass? I believe men are not designed to eat grass or grasses. Maybe it was just fruits. And I mean, fruits are not always available. They are seasonal crops. They have seasons. So how do men survive? Do they eat raw meat? Do they fish and eat raw fish? These are questions I'm still asking myself, because there was no fire. Fire was only discovered in the Stone Age, and people had been living before the Stone Age. Maybe I have to do one or two. Okay, I'll leave that as an assignment for us. I want us to go our assignment from, I have not given any assignment on this course lately, so I'm giving this assignment for the very first time on this course. I want us to go and make research. How were men eating, or what were men eating? Humans, what were human eating before the discovery of fire? Because fire was discovered in the Stone Age. So how were they surviving? What were they feeding on? Those are assignments, and I will need you to submit the assignment as soon as you have sorted that out. So we have that as that. So it was when men discovered fire in the Stone Age. That was when they learned how to cook, and it led to the invention of cooking methods and kitchen utensils. So now, the excuse me, man later domesticated plants and animals, and thus invented agriculture and led to the establishment of communities. Now, technology thus made possible the beginning of civilization in Egypt and Babylon. So when you come across the question, dash made um, possible the beginning of civilization, in Egypt and Babylonia, we have technology as the answer. The 20th century can be distinguished from previous centuries by: one, the recognition of the importance of science and technology in human affairs, the increase of pace of scientific and technological development, and by the realization that science and technology are not simply a limited or local factors. These are the 3 points. Now, the standard of living of any nation is dependent on science, technology, and invention. Definitely. Science can be subdivided into basic and applied science. Science can be subdivided into basics and basic and applied sciences. So we have basic sciences include physics, biology, and physics, biology, etc. While applied science include agriculture, medicine, etc. Now, technology can be subdivided into classical, which is low technology, such as fabrication of iron, steel, etc., and science-based, which is high technology, such as space technology, nuclear energy. So science has been divided into two. Technology has been technology has been subdivided, and science has also been subdivided. Methods of acquiring technological advancements include technology transfer, acquisition of technology, unpacked technology, adaptation technology, and poached technology. These are the methods of acquiring technological advancement. Some early contributors to science and technology include Robert Boyle, I think it's Boyle, if I'm not mistaken, Robert Boyle, spelled Boyle, and we have Marcello Marfigi, we have Christian Huygens, and lots more. So just three names mentioned. We have a lot of them, but just a very few. We have Robert Boyle, we have Marcello Marfigi, and we have Christian Huygens. As yeah, those are the three we have. Some modern contributors to science and technology include W.L. Judson, we have Alexander Fleming, we have Owen Foyle, and Ernest Chain. That concludes Unit 1 for Module 3. So we have Unit 2 for Module 3, where we have social implication of technological development. So we have the points. We have technological development has improved every aspect of man's life to agriculture, medicine, architecture, engineering, transport, and communication. Now, some of the worst problems of humanity have either been brought about to brought about or aggravated by science and technology. As much as science has helped, science has also destroyed a lot of things. One of the most worst problems of humanity have ever been brought about still by science and technology. And some of these is some of these are, we have population increase, pollution of air, land and water, we have poverty, and we have threats to pursuit of peace. Some scientific join existing organizations to form new ones in order to help both scientists, technologists, and laymen to be aware of social responsibility of science. So this is actually a very short, a very few but mighty points that we've gotten from the Unit 2 of Module 3. So we have that as that. So that's random for Unit 2. So we have Unit 3, which is basically we are going to be discussing about the philosophy of science, common characteristics of philosophy of science, the scope, the philosophy of science, and the nature of scientific methods. So we have the very first point. We have philosophy of science is the systematic study of nature of science, especially its method, its concepts, and its presuppositions. So we have that for philosophy of science, which is basically the nature of science, the study. Philosophy has to be the study of the nature of science, especially its methods, its concepts, and its presuppositions. So we have common characteristics of philosophy of science include fact that it is critical in nature. Characteristics of philosophy of science now, it's critical in nature, it shows curiosity, it lays emphasis on method. Right? Basic characteristics of philosophy of science. We have definition of science, aims, end or purpose of science, analysis of scientific purpose and theories, and finally the nature and characteristics of scientific knowledge and its relation to other branches of knowledge were treated under philosophy of science. So under philosophy of science, things like the definition of science, the aim of science, the end or the purpose of science, the analysis of scientific concepts and theories, the nature and characteristics of scientific knowledge, and the relation to the branches of knowledge will be covered under the philosophy of science. A genuine scientific knowledge is characterized by systematicness. systematicness. Dash, okay, a new scientific knowledge is characterized by dash. The answer is systematicness. Now, universality and objectivity among others. We have the scientific method makes use of both inductive and deductive method of reasoning. Scientific method make use of both method of inductive and deductive method of reasoning. So we have unit 4 and we have man and his origin. This will be discussing about the origin of man. Two popular accounts of the origin of man we are going to discuss, and they are the creationist and the evolutionary accounts. These two accounts are the two popular accounts of the origin of man. One, the creationists and the evolutionist account. The evolutionist view or account was when we'll be discussing this. Now the main points are the two views of the origin of man, as we said. The religion, the creationist can also be referred to as religious view of the scientific or the evolutionist view. So we have the religious or the creationist view, or the scientific or the evolutionist view. So we have so the basic, the two views. Popular account, they can be referred to as the account, or they can be referred to as the view of the origin of man. We have religious or creationist view or account, and we have the scientific or the evolutionist view. Now the first hominids emerged 5 to 10 millions of years ago. The first hominids, like Homo sapiens. So we have emerged 5 to 10 years ago. So we have the earliest knowledge. The earliest known hominids were the member of the genus Australopithecus. The earliest known hominids were the members of the genus Australopithecus. Now they were succeeded by the early Homo habilis. These were omnivorous and had large brain. They were omnivorous, as large brain. They were the first known representative of human lineage. The very first representative of human lineage are omnivorous, and they have large brains. So we have later on came the Homo erectus, which had larger brain than their predecessors. Homo erectus had larger brain than the very first lineage of human, which are referred to as the omnivorous. So when we talk about predecessors, people that came before you, they are your predecessors. They lived by gathering, scavenging, and sometimes hunting. They were the first humans to have used fire and to live at that time in caves. So we have the Stone Age was occupied by people we can refer to as species we can refer to as Homo erectus. Mr. Jola says they were eating basically what we eat today, raw. But then there was no fire. We don't eat raw things. We can't eat raw rice. Even groundnut itself, you still have to, unless for the fresh groundnut that we have to plant. Normal groundnut we still have to fry. And we don't eat beans raw. We cook them. I was referring to the time where there was no fire. The fire was discovered in the Stone Age, and we're made to understand that there had been life here on earth even before the Stone Age, and fire had not been discovered. So what were they eating? People that never saw fire. Oh, so Mr. Julius, are you saying as human we okay, I think I need to connect my phone. Just a moment, please. Okay, now I just have to connect this to my system so we get to go. Yeah. So, Mr. Julius, human beings, according to at least a little research I've made, we are not designed to eat raw food. We are not designed to eat raw meat. You might be right, you might be wrong, but to me, I feel I to some extent humans are not designed to eat raw meat, to take blood. We are not carnivorous animals. No, we don't take blood. We don't eat raw meat. So what were they feeding on? Or what your argument now is that they were eating raw meat before they discovered fire. So if they were eating raw meat and they were enjoying it and they were doing fine with it, so why? So why is that when fire was discovered, they learned cooking? Then why was it so important to make food for them? Think about that, Mr. Jonas. Your argument is not strong enough. I need you to make research and provide strong answers, provide strong points to your arguments. So we have now I've connected my phone. I can't use my mouse anymore, so I just have to use my laptop sensor. So we have Mr. Jonas. So just get your facts right, and we can talk about this in our next class. We have, or you can submit your assignments to the WhatsApp, to the classroom. Now, they were replaced by our species Homo sapiens about 500 years after. So now we've been able to talk about three species of mankind. Now we have the omnivorous that has the larger brain, and they were the first lineage, of human species, that the omnivorous. And we also have later we have the Homo erectus, and their brain were also larger than than the omnivorous. And thereafter we now have the Homo sapien. So let's know how they are arranged. Okay, I'm not okay with your so I'm not convinced with your answer. I'm not convinced with your answer. Now let's just continue because we have some ground to cover. So now we have the Homo sapien, which is the third species. About Homo sapien came about 500 years after the Homo erectus are long gone. So we have about in Africa about 250 years ago in Asia. Okay, Homo sapiens they were replaced as the Homo erectus were replaced in Africa. Exactly, Mr. Jolas. I think Miss Justina, you asked the question. Say, how will they eat raw food? I think Mr. Jolas, you have an idea, but I think you need more. You need to support your argument with facts, because I don't think humans can survive on eating raw food. Here, basically, everything apart from maybe vegetables, and when I even say vegetables, maybe like carrots, maybe like lettuce. It's not the vegetables we eat raw. We eat all our fruit raw. Avocado, mango, oranges, those ones are fruits, and they are fruits. I'm sorry to say, but here we don't see fruits as food because fruits do not sustain. I mean, and there's a level you even eat fruit to, you start to run stomach, you start to stool. Like real food, like meat, like cooked food. Yes, I understand. But what the question I'm asking is that, you know, it was said in our material that when fire was discovered, that was when they learned how to cook. And when we talk about cooking, it has to be the use of fire to boil, to grill, or you know, or to fry. I'm not sure they have anything like oil, but they have to cook, you know, and you have to use fire. That was when it was mentioned. There is no fire, there is no cooking. So before fire was discovered, definitely they had to crack two stones. It was discovered in the Stone Age. So before fire was discovered, how were they feeding? The Kenyans still drink blood. Wow. I think I know of a tribe like that. Impressive, you know. But they drink blood, but do they survive on drinking blood? Like, is that their main food? Even in that, uh, uh, I stand to be corrected. We have some groups, some cultist group that for you to be initiated, you have to drink blood. But drinking of blood is different from feeding on it. Like, that's what you eat, morning, afternoon, night, day in, day out, week, year after year, month after year, month. So let's just continue. It's actually a very interesting thing, and we should make research on that, because all these things, you know, never can tell when one will be needing them. So we have let's just continue. Now they were replaced, you know, by our species. We now, our species, we are the Homo sapiens, and we replaced the Homo erectus like 500 years ago in Africa and about 250 years ago in Asia. Full human form, that is Homo sapien, evolved about 40,000 years ago and formed societies and increased greatly in complexity, especially with the development of agriculture. So you can imagine it was even when fire was discovered that agriculture began to thrive. So we have 40,000 years. Homo sapiens evolved 40,000 years ago. Sajula said they fed with raw meat, okay, and fish. Okay, we'll see to that. We'll see to that. Everybody just go make your research. We'll see to that. But I'm still of the opinion that human beings, we can't feed on raw food. You know the bacteria that are in raw food. Why? Okay, let's even ask ourselves why this question. Why do we have to cook raw meat? Why can't we just chew them? Do you know the infections, the bacteria? Just some videos trending about some people having sex with animals. They are not even eating the raw meat of the animal. They are only having sex with animals. Do you know the variety of diseases they contacted from just doing that? Not talk of not eating raw food. Nah, Mr. Julius, I don't agree with you on that. So we have that as well. So we have the unit 5, which is the nature of man. So generally, characteristics of man, it was an innovation. Okay, what innovation exactly are we talking about, Mr. Julius? Now, characteristics of man. We have information of the cells responsible for birth and new organism. In unit 5, the nature of man, we're talking about the birth responsible, the cell responsible for birth and new organism, the material responsible for whatever we inherit from our parents. Sex is determined, how sex is determined, how twins are produced, and finally the interrelationship between the environment and the characteristic we inherit from our parents. So now let's take down the first point. What distinguishes man and places him high above all other earthly and visible creatures is infinite capacity to create. Infinite capacity to create is what distinguishes man, and that is what distinguishes man and places him above all other earthly and visible creatures. The infinite capacity to create. So we have six kind of specialized cells, cells in man, which are skin cell, skin cells. Now let's take this down, please. We have six kinds of specialized cells in man, and they are skin cells. They are called the epithelium tissues. We have the bone or connective tissue cells. We have the muscle cells. We have the blood cells. We have the nervous tissue cells, and we have the reproductive cells. Those are the six specialized cells in man. We have reproductive cell, which is responsible for the birth of new organisms, and it has 46 chromosomes. Reproductive cells is responsible for the birth of man. The birth of new organism has 46 chromosomes. So we have the chromosomes, which are the carriers of hereditary materials. The chromosomes are carriers of hereditary materials. The hereditary materials or determinants of heredity are called genes. Genes is spelled Genes. Genes and hereditary materials are determinants, and they are carried by what we call chromosomes. The father sex cell has determined the sex of the child. Twins that may be fraternal or identical, all these things has to do with gene. In heredited traits that may be modified by environment and social cultures. All these things we talk about genes. So genes are basically about genetics. So we have that. We have the module 4. We have unit 1, man and his cosmic environment. So presumptually, we're talking about the composition of the universe, characteristics of the earth, and the solar system and its components, celestial objectives, and other day-to-day night and things on earth. Now the main point in this unit, we have the cosmos is the world or the entire universe regarded as one orderly system which with a structure whose parts are linked together in an orderly manner. That is what the cosmos is. Cosmos is a world. The cosmos is the world or the entire universe itself. It has to do with a system, with a structure whose parts are linked together in an orderly manner. That is what the cosmos is. Cosmos is really same thing as the world or the universe itself. Now, cosmology is the area of study. Talking about studying the world and the universe itself now has to do with cosmology. Studying the structure of the universe, while cosmology deals with the evolution and the origin of the universe. So we have the structure of the cosmos is made up of 1. The earth, into brackets other planets. 2. Their satellites. 3. The sun and other stars. 4. The groups of stars called galaxies. This is what makes up the cosmos. Now, man depends for his survival on air, heat, water, and other natural resources from the entire cosmos, particularly his own earth and the sun. The earth takes approximately 24 hours to rotate on its axis and 365 days to complete revolution around the sun. I believe we have that. The earth takes approximately 24 hours to rotate on its axis and 365 days to complete one revolution around the sun. So we have spheres of the earth are 1. The biosphere, 2. The atmosphere. Then the 3 sub-layers of the atmospheres are 1. Troposphere, 2. The stratosphere, and 3. The thermosphere. Let me take that again. Spheres of the earth are 2. The biosphere and the atmosphere. Now, the atmosphere is subdivided into three layers. One, the troposphere. Two, the stratosphere. Three, the thermosphere. Now, the solar system is composed of the sun and the nine planets. Each of some of the planets have its own moons or satellites, which galaxies are, okay, which rotates around it. Galaxies are large system of stars held together by mutual gravitation and isolated by similar system by vast region of space. So galaxy are large system of stars held together by mutual gravitation. Now we have our solar system belongs to the Milky Way galaxy, which contains 100 million stars. Our solar system belongs to the Milky Way galaxy, which contains about 100 million stars. Now, the unit of measurement which is used to measure astrological distance is called light year. The unit of measurement which is used to measure astronomical distance is called light year. Unit 2, man and his natural resources, which we have, talk about types of food man needs to substance to survive on, vegetational zones and the word on how they influence the types of crops can be planted there. Okay, now the main points. Man sustains himself through food and essentials of life, such as air and water. Essentials of life for man, air and water. The type of food needed by man include carbohydrates, fats, and oils, proteins, minerals, and vitamins. The basic food needed by man include carbohydrates, fats, and oil, proteins, minerals, and vitamins. Man's ability to produce his food and other agricultural needs depends on the type of climate, weather, and soil of the region in which he lives. Definitely, just like in Nigeria now, our kind of apple is not the regular kind of apple that we import in. We do plant apple in Nigeria, but it's not the regular kind of apple that is being imported in. And there are some crops that would definitely not survive in a particular region and survive in some other region. We are about 6 of us watching this live stream, and we have just 4 persons who has liked. The other remaining 2 persons, please, what are you waiting for? Do well to smash the like button, please. Thank you very much in advance. So we have vegetation means the plant life of a region. It influences the type of farming done in the area. Vegetation, let me tell that again, it means the plant life of a region. Natural resources can be classified into two. One, living and non-living resources, and we have the renewable and the non-renewable resources. There are 2 natural resources. Now, man needs for natural resources can be classified into primary and secondary needs. Man needs for natural resources can be classified into primary and secondary needs. Non-living resources are managed by beneficiation, maximization, and substitution. Non-living resources are managed by beneficiation, maximization, and we have substitution. So the non-living things, and we have allocation and recycling. Now, living resources can be managed through means such as the protection and restoration of endangered species through the development of parks, reserves, and etc. And we have recycling. Now, the 2 major ways we can manage living resources. When we have parks, I think we have places like that in Kenya, and it's actually a very nice place for tourism. Now, people come around the world, they don't just kill their animals. They have laws restricting people from killing animals. And so government build parks whereby people can come and see these animals. Another way of making money, way of improving their economy. So thank you very much, guys. This brings us to the end of tonight's class, and it brings us to the end of the course, philosophy, history, and philosophy of science. It's been a very interesting course, and we have learned a lot of things. And as I can see on the chat, on the comments, comment section, a lot of points are being made by students. It's actually a great course. I'll be able to learn a lot of things and discover a lot of things. So the assignment still stands. Mr. Jolas, Mr. Justina, uh, do well to submit your assignment. Thank you very much, guys. I hope we are studying and preparing for our forthcoming exam. I think the clearance is done now, and one thing again I just discovered, one thing again that got my attention is that the matriculation is happening soon. I think it's on the 18th, if I'm not mistaken, and students are already going to get their matriculation gown. If you are yet to get yours too, do well to get your matriculation gown. And if you are also financially buoyant, you can just go there, still get a friend who has gotten our own matriculation gown. You can just snap it and return it. It's not a must you get the gown, it's just for pictures actually. And the most important thing is that you just be there, attend the ceremony. You'll be taught a lot of things, you'll be introduced to a lot of groups where you can share information. You'll be there's what we call orientation. You guys will be oriented. When I was in the polytechnic then, orientation we do orientation almost every month, talking about encouraging each other, exposing things to each other. So it's actually departmental. We have some departmental orientation, we have the faculty orientation. It's all the better. It's a very, very interesting experience. National University also has all these packages. It's just that it's not a conventional university, but it's a very good place to be, a great place to study for those who know what they are doing and who knows what they want. So thank you very much, guys. I know it's not easy. That's what make it worth. That's what make it worth it, because nothing good comes easy. I hope to see you, and I hope to see you on that other side where you come out with your degree with flying colors, proud of your certificate. Um, Thank you very much, guys. I think let us know tomorrow the next course we are taking. But if you have suggestions, you can as well drop in the comment section which course you should be taking. I think we've taken mathematics, we've taken computer, we've taken psychology, taking computer, taking mathematics, we've taken computer, taking psychology. This is philosophy of science. So we are here to do English, economics, what else? And the English, economics, um, introduction to business, something business. We've not done business, we've not done economics, we've not done English, we've not done study guide. So let me know which one you think we should do next, so we can just start the next class. Thank you very much, guys, and I will see you next tutorial. Bye bye.